project-based learning needed, more student-centred learning. I think we should be encouraging students to take risks. I'm not the only one that thinks this. Less formal assessment, less you got that right, you got that wrong. Fewer tests, more formative assessment. Also today, you know, the way that kids are constantly connected, they're constantly connected to a stream of stuff. I mean, the most amazing example of this, which one is it, Instagram or Pinterest, which one is it? Where after 24 hours it disappears. It's completely... Snapchat, sorry, Snapchat. Thank you very much indeed. I'm terribly sorry. Well, I'm not going to say I'm not a digital native, because I don't agree with that one either.
Are you following the philosophy after 24 hours it disappears?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Snapchat wants you to forget its names.
No, but the thing is that the kids we're working with are used to it's a bit like, you know, the revolution in big data, where before, at the end of the year, a company would consult its database and make decisions based on that for the next year. Big data says don't consult a database, consult the constant stream of data that's going through your systems day by day, and make decisions for tomorrow based on what's happening today. I mean, one of the best examples I saw of this was in the cosmetics industry, where they were taking real-time data from the shops, and they were able to see in real time what colours of nail varnish were going up and down. And because of that, they were able, a week ahead, to order the correct chemicals so that they would have ready enough of the next colour of nail varnish so that they could actually predict the demand, so that if metallic pink was coming in, by the time everybody wanted metallic pink, it would be there on the shelves. That's big data. And it's really the same in the way that kids are consuming stuff now. Everything is constant and new. I mean, you know how quickly kids now change from trend. What was trendy 3 weeks ago is not trendy now. What was happening now will not be happening in a month's time. What do we do in digital publishing at the moment? I don't know if you're familiar with the big head, long tail model. But the big head, long tail model basically says that you can do two things. You can either sell an awful lot of units of very few things. And I think with digital publishing, digital textbooks, most publishers are doing that. They're saying, look, if you need an A2 English book for teenagers, I can offer you 2, or maybe 3, or if you're a really big publisher, maybe 4, but not more than that, because an adult course is a different one, another course like that. So you can buy any one of my 4 books or not. And because of the economies of the way that digital is produced, because at the moment digital is very often a digital version of the print book, so you have to do all the digital prototyping and getting the rights and the pictures and the text and the authors before you can do the digital transformation to the PDF and then the enriched PDF and then the interactive book. Because the economies are the same, you must sell an awful lot of units of that digital book to recoup your investment, and even more before you actually start making a profit. So the big head model is all about selling a lot of very few things, whereas the long tail model is selling an awful lot more, an awful lot less of very many more things. Now, if you're producing digital versions of complete textbooks, you can't do that. So that means that the things that you sell here have to be smaller, they have to be produced more quickly, they have to be produced in line with ongoing market demand. And then really what we're talking about in addressing the long tail is matchmaking. We're establishing a matchmaking thing and saying, I'm listening constantly to my audience and saying, my market, is telling me they want me to produce that. They don't want that. They like me. They want more. I'm going to produce more. Now, the great thing about addressing the long tail is that the area between the big head and the long tail is actually about the same. There's the same amount of money. And the other good thing about the long tail is that in the big head model, you give your clients a choice. You either buy my book or you do not buy my book. That's it. If you like it, you buy it. If you don't like it, you don't buy it. In the long tail model, you can say, you don't like my book, fine. Do you like bits of it? Yeah. Okay, buy bits. I don't mind if you take that bit from my book, that bit from somebody else, that bit from somebody else, that bit from somebody else, that bit from somebody else. I can sell to more people, more things, but probably less units. But in the end of the day, I'm selling the same amount, possibly even more. And it means that you don't make your clients make that decision, do I buy your book or not? It's like, I'll be your friend or I won't be your friend. No, I'll be your friend and I'll be your friend too, and your friend. Don't have to be exclusive about it. You don't force people to make that decision. You don't break the relationship for 3 years until the next adoption cycle, and then you go back and try and make friends with them again. You can keep the relationship going. So this means moving from monolithic publishing in your digital to moving to disaggregated, chopped up into little pieces publishing when you're doing digital. It means approaching it in a completely different way. Another thing which is very similar, manufacturing. Manufacturing for a new part for a car or an aircraft. We research it, we talk to the consumers, we build computer models, we test them, then we build the machine tools. I don't know how you say machine tools. Machine tools are machines which make other things, yeah? And then when you're all set up, you get your factory producing lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of these units, and they look beautiful and they're all ready. But when the market says they want something different, it takes you ages to turn around, do the research again, do the testing, tool up, find the right material, and maybe you're left with a lot of the old ones and you can't sell them, and you have to produce a whole load of new ones and hope that they're okay. 3D printing lets you produce something. It's not quite as polished, but it works. And it means that you can say to the, okay, you need something like that, you need something like that, you need something like that. I can, with 3D printing, I can now print in metal, I can print in aluminium, I can print in all sorts of materials. And I think that we should be looking at publishing, part of publishing, as if it were 3D printing and not manufacturing. Because I think we address our digital publishing very much as if it were manufacturing. Big head, not the long tail. This is the same sort of thing. This can be produced on demand. Short runs are economically viable. It can change more or less in real time. Whereas this takes ages to produce, and the economics of scale dictate that I sell an awful lot of the same sort of thing. Move on to this. This is interesting. This talk came out of a report that I wrote for myself about 9 months ago. And I was saying that I was fed up of seeing in textbooks things about Elvis Presley and the Beatles. Now, there's a good reason why publishers did that in paper, because I don't know if you know, but quite a lot of publishers had to destroy quite a lot of books when certain things were discovered about Michael Jackson, because they put Michael Jackson in the book. All of a sudden, Michael Jackson became persona non grata, and a lot of those books had to be destroyed. So publishers get very scared about putting topical stuff in books. And I mean, these were taken from books, this and that. But digital versions. And I was saying at that time, I didn't want to see any more in a digital book, Elvis Presley and an ancient Nokia phone. I wanted to see, anybody know who this is? Nicki Minaj, very good, okay. And the S7, but that was last year. That was last year. The S7 is no longer the flagship phone. And Nicki Minaj, I don't think any kids that I speak to, they don't talk to her, they don't listen to her. She's not really, I mean, she's old hat. So what do I put in now? What do I put in? Well, I've got, this is possibly not the best device because it tends to blow up and set fire to you. But for personal reasons, I can't bring myself to put in an iPhone 7. I'm sorry, I can't. But that's just me. That's my problem, not yours. But this is Kimi no Nawa, which is the latest massive anime film, feature-length anime film, which is the buzz thing. This is Matsuha, this is Taki, and it came out on the 26th of August. And with digital publishing, with content management systems, there is no reason why I can't substitute Nicki Minaj for Kimi no Nawa when I realise that she's no longer popular and she is. The only thing I have to do is go around the back of a content management system, press a button, delete that picture, put in another one, and then what do I have to do? I have to ask an editor to write 3 exercises about Kimi no Nawa, comprehension activity, bit of vocab, and some other kind of activities. It's very easy to do, but we don't do it. We carry on with a digital version of the print textbook, in the worst cases. So we have to be much faster. So I've talked about this before. And what I'm suggesting is we look at publishing textbooks the same way that the BBC and CNN and Bloomberg look at the point of view of publishing their websites. Yeah? Here we go. This is the BBC website now at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Berlin on my computer. It may look different on yours because you're different. Yours may be set to give you by default news from your country first. It might give you different weather. It'll be different for everybody. The BBC don't wait for the news to finish before they publish their website. The BBC website is constantly being published. And one of my contentions is that I think that digital textbooks should be constantly being published. You can do it because the BBC, I think we would all agree, produce a fairly professional product. And they do it in real time. And I'm sure if we go back into this in 2 or 3 hours, this site will have changed. Because behind the BBC website is a multimedia content management system. And a multimedia content management system is not, I mean, the most expensive one I can think of costs about 300,000 euros. But you can get something very, very, very decent for nothing, because there are open source ones, and maybe 75 to 120,000 in consultancy fees to help you set it up and to keep it running. It's not a lot of money. I mean, I know that when a new primary course book is planned, a 6-level primary course, minimum investment, 800,000, easily £1 million, and if it's a big important course it can be 1.5, 1.7, easy. Compared to that, 200,000 euros on a multimedia content management system that allows you to constantly update your publication in real time is not big money. Let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. What do we do? You know, author submits the proposal, review the market, write up the contract, how many royalties we're going to pay you, reduce the author reviews, artwork, rights, proofing, second proofs, third proofs, covers. How long does it take covers to get approved? I mean, where I used to work, it could be 6 months easily. Change the font, change the colour, change the photo. Do we agree? Round again, round to the sales force. They don't like it, do it again. Hundreds and hundreds of hours getting the cover right. I mean, really. And only here, when we get ready to go to, you know, more or less something ready to go, do we start the digital version. I'm saying that we launch. We launch with something that's good enough. It's all right. Okay. We disaggregate it so we can sell bits of it. We sell it. We monitor. We listen constantly. And we look at analytics. What's working? What's not working? What do people like? What do they not like? What do they complain about? What do they write about? And based on that, I'll change it. And I'll keep changing it. And it'll never be finished. And the great thing about that is that it takes away from me that awful burden of the book comes out, I produce my digital version, 3 years later, shelf life finished, and I have to do another course, and another course, and another course. And it's an awful sort of, I don't know, when you've been in publishing for a long time, sometimes don't you get sick of it? You know, planning another course and doing another concept meeting and another author, and don't you just wish you could keep the same thing running? Well, I think you can, and you can keep it fresh and relevant and motivating and interesting, and you can lock in your users because you're giving them something that nobody else, well, if you all do it, then everybody's doing it. But if you can offer them this real-time, based on topical stuff experience, then you're locking them in because they're getting from you what they can't get from the competition. There'll be problems. There'll be pushback from your staff because they'll have to learn new skills. There'll be change management, and I'm not going to talk about change management a lot because Aya is going to talk about that tomorrow. And possibly more important, if you do decide to go non-linear and allow people to enter your content at any point, you're going to have to substitute the coherency that you achieve through linearity for something else. Because what you can't do is just give them stuff. You can't do that. Because teachers are fairly traditional, ministries are fairly traditional. And linearity is great because I have a reason for doing page 2. It's because I did page 1. It's not a very good reason, but it's a reason. And it gives me coherence. Once I take that away, I have problems. This is the way that things normally work. Unit 1, the grammar, the vocab, the reading and writing, the audio, speaking, watching, the play, then Unit 2, the same thing. As soon as I take that away, I've got problems. So if I, instead of producing units and pages and activities and a sequence, if I produce stuff and I say, okay, I am an audio activity and I am about, sorry about this, but I'm really into Formula One and I'm a Formula One fan, I'm sorry. And I'm about Fernando Alonso, because I just think he's the best, I'm sorry. This is my example. And I say, okay, you have decided to look at this piece of audio. Okay, fine, great. Just so that you know, in this bunch of stuff that the publisher is offering you, there's also a vocabulary exercise which you may find very useful because it provides micro-practice on a lot of the vocabulary that you're going to be looking at. There's also a grammar activity which is also linked to me. There's a website out there which provides some further reading and some further investigative stuff. If we tag all the stuff that we put in the bunch of stuff, we can allow people to go into it at any point, and we can illuminate paths and links to other bits of even controlled practice. I'm not saying controlled practice is a bad idea. I'm saying we shouldn't only do it. And we can actually provide that coherence, but it derives from pedagogy and not from linearity. So I can, in fact, allow student people to go in at any point and say, and there are other things, other activities, reading, listening, writing, website, tasks, skills, competence work, etc., digital literary work, cross-curricular work, connected to this text. So I can get round the linearity problem by tagging, and there are a number of tagging schemas that are being offered. Some of them are quite complex, but they're out there and they're available. And it does also mean, if you tag stuff like that, that your core material, stuff like your grammar reference, your word list, the skills tips that you give at the back, the exam tips, you don't have to write them again and again and again because they're core stuff. People will always need a list of irregular verbs. They'll always need a dictionary. They'll always need a reference section to help them through different skills and grammar. And you don't have to change that every time you bring out a stuff. And you can be publishing new stuff constantly and tagging it. Now, where does it come from, this stuff? Well, I think Stephen this morning gave you much better ideas than I did. But we've got text, images, audio activities. I think a lot of the stuff that we should be looking at is because I also believe that video is a starting point. So, I think YouTube is a great starting point to be taking video from. Also, we saw promotional videos, also specific YouTubers' channels. 2 or 3 that I really like. Your Grammar Sucks. I don't know if you know Your Grammar Sucks. It's very, very funny. Good Mythical Morning is a very interesting, factually based YouTuber's channel. And I'm saying very much the same sort of thing that Stephen was saying. Basically saying that you need to basically be striking up relationships with content providers so that you can get your source book. I mean, the activities and the images and the text, I think you might need authors for that, but I think you're more relying on your editorial in-house team, because lots of editors write activities, don't they? Authors will present things, but editors are very good at writing the activities to exploit stuff. They learn that kind of things on the job. But what I think that the difference is that how this is done and when this is done. This is done on demand, in real time, and not sort of all up front. User-generated content is something we haven't talked about, and I think it's quite interesting. Because if you offer a tagged cloud of material and you allow people to modify that or add to it, you may discover among your audience that something that somebody writes or adds or changes is actually rather good, and that other people like it. And you think, actually, we'll take that and we will apply to it what we're good at. And what are publishers good at? You're good at design, rigour, accuracy, making things universal, which is something that teachers are very bad at, aren't they? Teachers' material tends to work very well for that teacher with their class, but they're not very good at making their material universal. What publishers are very good at, writing material which is universal, which can be applied to more or less any class. So I think user-generated content is something that we need to think about also, because on top of the UGC, you can add your publisher values, which are the curation, the design, the rigorously, the accuracy, etc. And then you can offer back to your users not only a great product, but the chance to be a hero, or the chance to become, to see your stuff published. You can maybe even work out some sort of micropayment model to reward them for the contribution they make. But really, what you're doing is what Apple are already doing. They're taking user-generated content and selling it back to you, which is a great idea. Learn. And I think, doing that is that publishers will continue to use your employer skill set. You'll drive their mark because if a piece of user-generated content comes in and you modify it and say, this is good enough for me, and you use your brand, that gives it the credibility that if it had just come from that teacher, it wouldn't have. And I think also you remain relevant in the face of open educational resources, which we haven't talked about, but you basically put your seal of approval on user-generated content. So you're what's the word? You're sort of using open stuff, but you're curating it in a way that's adding value to it. So you're making it better. And obviously operating a constantly updated, changing experience, which is what learners want, because as we've said, the world in which they live is very ephemeral. What's beautiful today is washed away again tomorrow and replaced by something else. You know, Nescafe realised this a few years ago. They realised that there's not much money in coffee, but there was an awful lot of money in selling an aspiration, an idea. And what do you get now with an espresso machine? You get, it's easy, it's convenient, it looks nice in your kitchen. And you don't have to just have one kind of coffee at home, you can have 10 types. And it's better than the coffee it's as good as the coffee you can get in the Italian bar down the road, and instead of costing you €1.50, it costs you 35 or 30, or if you buy it in Lidl, 20 cents. And that's what they sell. They don't sell coffee, they sell an experience, they sell a service. And most industries now are moving from selling the commodity to selling the services around it. And I think as publishers you need to be thinking the same thing, because you can't differentiate yourself, because it's true, isn't it? 2 textbooks, okay, there are some bad ones, but let's be honest, they are very similar. Sorry. They are very similar. They're all good. And that was bad, but worse is there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet which is free, which is not as good as your stuff, but it's good enough. And it's good enough particularly for people in Greece and Spain and Italy who are on €800 a month and who do not have the money to spend on textbooks, and in other markets where you're going to be working. And I think in the future this economic thing is going to be more important. So if you can concentrate more on the services. And as we've said, what are your services? Your services are curation, design, accuracy, rigour, and universality. That's what you should be selling, particularly this. And if you can get an accreditation body to line up with you as well, then you've really cracked it. But that's the way that you should be focusing your business. Okay. So, to get to the end, what might it look like? Very quickly. Let's say we show them a piece of authentic video.
Food. You know, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I went to the fridge and I opened up the meat drawer. You know what the meat drawer is, right?
Yes. What was in there?
Well, I'll tell you what was in there. You know that bacon that's like maple? Yeah, maple flavor.
The maple kind, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I took that out. I thought,
yeah,
I know who would like that. Me. So I ate it. Nope. Not kidding. You know, I also noticed there was some beef in there. Yeah, you know, steak, you know, juicy. Well, I ate that too. But I went back to the fridge just a few minutes ago. And I put something together really special to go with this one.
It's still one of my favourite videos. I think it's actually wonderful. I think it's great. Okay, so introduce the task using a piece of authentic video. Fine. Okay. Comprehension and pre-teaching of key vocab. You need to do that. Who can do that? An editor. Bang, bang, bang. How long does it take you to do comprehension activities for this video? An hour? Hour and a half? Poof, easy. Give them a task. Invent a conversation with a pet animal, things that cats and dogs would say, etc., 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 etc. Give them a task to do. Send them away to do it. Okay? Okay, do a conversation. You be the dog, you be the human. Make it. I love it. Great time. Kids love to do this sort of thing. Yeah, have a great time. Present it. Then when we present it, then we'll go through, and in class we'll analyse it for things which we could not have, which we could have done better. Not mistakes, things which we could have done better. And then to allow us to do it better, it's then the teacher and the publisher's job to provide the controlled practice of, I don't know, pronunciation or vocab or etc., that will allow you to do the task better. And then do the task again. Now, as a publisher, where's the business model there? Well, I think the business model is here because we can provide the videos, we can curate the videos, we can choose them, we can choose nice ones, we can chop them up in the kind of way that Stephen was talking about this morning to make them adaptable to different people. We can provide exploitation activities so the teacher doesn't have to do it. We can provide a task framework. We can provide a range of form-based practice activities. We can provide the teacher's guide. We can give our mark, and we might even provide the safe environment in which kids work and create the new task. So there's actually quite a lot that we can sell as a service to our clients. This is an extreme example of concentrating on service and not content. But there are other things that we can sell that we do really well, that we can sell back to our people, and which they would find amazingly useful. And we, again, go back to it, we would still be using our editorial skill set, our really good editors, our really good designers, that rigorous, that pernickety thing that editors do so well. So that instead of designing a task on their own, when teachers take a task from us, they know it's reliable, they know it will work, they know that it's correct, they know that the models are correct, because it's got our name on it. So they buy trust from us. Okay, summary. What am I suggesting? Just-in-time rolling publishing, based on a CMS, constantly updated and always being published. Offering a cloud, but a tagged cloud of content which is disaggregated so people can buy the bits that they want. And that the entry points can be anywhere around here. You can go in at any point. But unlike social learning like Busu or those sorts of things, I'm still keeping up these traditional publisher values of design, accuracy, rigorousy, and universality. I think is very important. Okay. A little more verbose summary. We'll take into account learning out of the classroom. We haven't talked about this, but it would involve parents and peers, cater to different learning styles. We haven't talked about either the takeaway mobile thing, but if you're disaggregating content, it's obviously very easy to provide your students with stuff that they can take away from class, and straight after class, sitting on the bus, they can do a quick revision of it. Of what they've done today. The nice thing about it, if publishers take care of it, it'll be a lot less chaotic than the typical social media type learning, because I don't know if you've learned language on the social learning side, but it tends to be a bit chaotic. You get the feeling that somebody needs to sort of take control and sort of unify it and make it a bit more polished. And I think that's where publishers can come in. I think bringing the real world into the class is very important. And obviously it will be multi-platform. And it'll provide an offer, and offer is the word that I prefer to book, that covers the classroom, home learning, obviously spinning off the elements into small application, and will provide tools for user-generated content and add value to that with our traditional values. And as I didn't say before, you can even take stuff from your users and possibly even sell it back to them at a premium, because you have added value to it. The upsides for this, it gets away this awful thing of a new title every 3 or 4 years, new covers, new designs. You will gradually build up a store of standard activities, that stuff that's always at the back of the book. That doesn't change, the reference stuff. There's always a word list, there's always irregular verb, there's always exam techniques, there's always comprehension techniques. That doesn't need to change. It won't need cyclical promotion, and it'll allow smaller bits to be spun off. And I think that if you can do this well, you actually lock your users in so that your cost of maintaining your clients will actually fall as well. Because if you concentrate more on the experience rather than just the content, and give them what they, like somebody said yesterday about Steve Jobs, you give them what they didn't know they wanted, then I think you've really scored something, and you will get your fans, and you'll keep them on board, and it'll cost you less to keep them on board. That's about me, but I just wanted to leave that. Wow.
Wow.